chapter? क्या क्या हमने पढ़ा?
Chemical formula.
No, starting
So,
from the beginning. Yes.
there is like a test of this lesson.
I suppose today you will be having a test, I think.
So I just Saturday.
Oh, yes, repeat again.
I chose Saturday.
I didn't understood what you're saying. Will you please repeat again?
So I choose Saturday the day and the time they
Okay,
said to
okay.
choose.
Okay. You had the option when you want to give the test. Okay, so on Saturday you will be giving test. Okay, good. So let's begin. So I was asking you what are the things we have studied in the chapter so far.
So what are the improvements?
Let's start from crop. हमने crops के बारे में पढ़ा. Can you define what is crop? We will recap all the things we have studied so far in just 5 minutes. So quickly answer this. What do you mean by crops?
It's a plant that is grown on a large scale.
Same kind of plants. Okay. Good. What are the different types of crops based on the season?
Z crops,
Then
coffee crops, and rabi crops. I guess.
Kharif crops and Rabi
Sorry.
crops. Okay. Kharif. Okay. Okay. What are some of the examples of Kharif crops?
Paddy, groundnut,
Good. Soybean, very good. Cotton,
yes, some millet,
very good. What also tell me when the Kharif crops are sown, in which season?
in June, I think.
I'm asking about the season, not about the month.
Oh, okay. In the summer.
In the rainy season, no?
Yeah.
Sowing is done in the rainy season. Okay? And rainy season in India is from the month of June to September. So sowing for Kharif crops starts in June to July. जब साउथ वेस्ट मानसून इंडिया में बिगिन होता है, so at that time हम खरीफ क्रॉप्स की बुनाई करते हैं. I mean to say खरीफ crops are sown in that time. Getting it? Okay. While for the next month, for the next 4 to 5 months, it grows. So basically, at that time, it's summer in India as well. Okay. When the winter crops are sown, when they are grown,
September to October. I mean October to December.
They are grown in between the month of October till March. Winter crops, that is the Rabi crops, they are sown in between October to November. When summer season ends, जब summer season end होता है, at that time it's time to grow crops like wheat, to sow the seeds of crops like wheat, gram, mustard, peas, linseed. So in crops के seeds को sow किया जाता है when winter is about to begin. And harvest कब करते हैं? When winter ends. So by the month of March or April, they are harvested. Okay, what are the 7 basic practices of crop production? Okay, just mention what you have studied so far. No need to mention all of them.
We do first ploughing of the land or tilling, like loosening the soil.
So basically that is preparation of soil.
Yeah.
The first stage is preparation of soil. Next.
Then sowing the seeds.
Sowing the seeds, very good. After this?
Irrigation.
After this, addition of manures and fertilizers. Okay, no? Manures and fertilizers are added. So manures and fertilizers के अलावा there's one more method that is called as crop rotation. Via crop rotation also we can enhance the fertility of the soil. So this is the third stage of crop production we were discussing. The third stage may we understood about the addition of manures and fertilizers. दोनों की advantages है, दोनों की disadvantages भी हैं, which we have studied. Okay. Can you tell me what is the disadvantage of usage of excess amount of fertilizers? Yes, Sundar. It's a
So
simple
what is
question. What is the disadvantage of using excess amount of fertilizers? Too much amount of fertilizers. Yes. See, ये हमने discuss किया था in the last class. If you see here, I must have written it somewhere as well. Which advantages and some disadvantages are also there. Look at the slide in the screen. These are the disadvantages now. Sundar, try to recall it. Yeah, Khadija, assalamu alaikum. How are you?
Walaikum Assalam.
Okay, Khadija, I hope everything is all right. We're not present in the previous class.
Yes, sorry.
Okay. No, there's no need to say sorry in this. Okay. So I will be giving you a recap of what we have studied so far. So you can watch the previous lecture. Okay, you guys know now if you have missed a class, you can have the recorded lecture of that class. Okay.
Okay.
From YouTube, or basically I will let the counselor know you guys how to access the recorded lessons. So far what we have
I
is
got it. I got it.
you got it.
Yes.
How? What are the disadvantages of using excess of fertilizers?
The soil will be not, it will be excess fertile.
Soil will be
Uh,
see.
it will,
Mhm.
like, it will, I mean, it will, destroy the fertility of soil.
So fertility of soil will reduce. Why? क्योंकि you know कि some excess use of fertilizers will make the soil either highly acidic or highly basic in nature. So fertility will reduce. हमने पढ़ा है कि if the pH level of soil is near to 7 or 7, जब pH scale पर soil की pH level, when the pH of soil is neutral, so thereby we know that plants grow best in a neutral soil. Then water pollution is also caused. As I told you, suppose this is land, and due to rainfall or due to flood water, the chemicals from the land will go to nearby water bodies like ponds or to river. And in that, what I did told you, like algae, you all must have seen algae, huh? Near to the tap water or near to a moist land, you will see algae grow on that land. Let me show you an image of you. Khadija, do you know what is an algae?
Yes.
Huh? Sundus?
Yes, I do. Yes, I know.
You guys know, no? Okay, there's
Yes.
no need to show it then. So you guys know what is an algae. So on water also algae is present, especially on not in all water, not in the clean water. Like in ponds and rivers, algae is present there. Their food is nutrient-rich substances like this chemical, which is full of so many nutrients. Like it is consisting of nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, some consist of calcium, some consist of magnesium. So it is getting food, hence its number will start to multiply. It will start to multiply, and thereby it will form a bed-like structure above the water. Right now, it will look like there's a green carpet. It's like someone has laid a green carpet over the water. So due to this, what they will do, sunlight will not reach in the water properly. Since hence aquatic plants will start to die. Also, this algae will consume all the dissolved oxygen from the water. So fishes will not be having enough oxygen. So fishes will start to die. Getting it now? So water pollution is also because happening because of excess usage of chemical fertilizers. So Khadija, for you, let me tell you, we are done with the first two practices of crop production. So we did discussed about about the preparation of soil, and next we did discuss about the sowing of seeds also. Third stage in crop production is addition of manures and fertilizers. In this, we have studied about addition of manures and fertilizers. You can watch the recording of the lectures. Now we are going to understand about crop rotation. What is this practice called as crop rotation? Also, guys, at least recall, memorize the name of one of the chemical fertilizers. At least you can memorize the name of NPK or chemical fertilizers, yeah, like urea. These are some of the examples. Make sure you remember them. Okay, now.
The main example is NPK, right?
A
So
main
if we
example
just
is
learn NPK, then like we don't need to
NPK.
write
No, no, no.
any other example.
NPK is a very common example. It's okay, but apart from that, no. Remember examples like urea also, and one more. At least remember three examples. Okay, now ammonium sulfate also. Okay, and when I say this, I can ask about its example anytime in the class. Okay, now let's understand what is this crop rotation. So crop rotation, you know that it is. You should know that this is a practice by which fertility of soil can be improved. So crop rotation, from the name itself, you can see, and in the image also, you can see that these crops, for example, are grown in alternate one after another. So once you grow crop A, in the next season you will be growing crop B, and the next season you will be growing crop C. So you are rotating the crops on the same piece of land. So the practice in which different types of crops, particularly leguminous and non-leguminous crops, are grown alternately in the same field, that practice is called as crop rotation. For example, let's say
I
that
didn't
you
get
have
what is crop rotation.
I haven't completed the whole topics on this. Let me just complete, then it will be clear to all of you. Okay, now. Hmm. See, for example, uh, in the first season, let's say you are growing crops like wheat, or you have crops like maize or paddy. So let's say that you have these cereal crops. These are the cereal crops like wheat, maize, paddy, or alternate. So you will be growing it in alternate with special type of crops like pulses or peas, beans. Basically, soya beans can be there, and groundnut. Abhi kharif, right now we are not talking about kharif, rabi, or zaid crops. Okay, na? Don't keep that in mind. Don't mix up things. Okay. So you have these kind of crops. These are called as leguminous crops. How many of you know about leguminous crops? What are the leguminous crops actually? Do you guys know what are leguminous crops? Yes? No.
Yes.
See, pulses,
I
peas,
think
beans.
I know.
Okay, tell us what is it?
Um, Maybe I'll explain.
Uh-huh. Look, basically there are some crops now. For example, if you can recall, in the previous class I did told you about some of the biofertilizers. Okay, now biofertilizers. We have studied about a different type of manures right now. So we did talk about fertilizers also. So rhizobium or azotobacter, or these different types of bacteria that you are seeing here. So they are biofertilizers. Now talking about this rhizobium. This rhizobium is a bacteria that can fix the atmospheric nitrogen into the soil. It can fix the atmospheric nitrogen into the soil, and they are naturally found to be living in the root nodules of leguminous crops. Let me show you an image of root nodule. I forgot to add it in the slide today. Let me show you an image of it. This way you will get to know how it basically looks. Now look at the given image here. Look at the first image here. See these soil and structures in the roots here. No. If you were to look, what is this plant? This is a pea plant. Okay. What you will find that their roots have got bulb-like structures, and these bulb-like structures, these are called as nodules. What are they? Yes, Khadija?
Yes, root nodule.
Root nodules. And in root nodules of these plants, a special type of bacteria is found to be living. So this is called as rhizobium bacteria. Now, what is interesting about this bacteria, that it can take nitrogen from the air and it can fix it into the soil. It fixes the atmospheric nitrogen into the soil. So it will take the N2 from the air and fix it into the soil in the form of nitrate and nitrites. And then this is now in the soluble state and can be taken by the plants. Now, if you know that plants require different type of nutrients, nitrogen is one of them. Getting it? So we have to provide nitrogen to the soil either by addition of manures or fertilizer. But here you have got crops like pulses, peas, beans, or groundnut, and they can naturally fix the nitrogen from the atmosphere into the soil. So hence there no need to provide a nitrogen fertilizer to these to that soil in which these crops are growing. So once you have grown the leguminous crops in the season 1, suppose right now you are growing in this first season, you grow the leguminous crops. So after this, you will be growing the non-leguminous crops like wheat, maize, and paddy. So when you will be growing this now, at that time when you find the soil, then the soil will already be having nitrogen in it, which was earlier stored in it, which was earlier fixed into the soil by these leguminous crops. So hence there's no need to provide nitrogenous fertilizer to these non-leguminous crops. Is it clear to both of you?
Sorry, can you explain again?
Khadija, what about you?
It's clear.
Okay, let me explain it once again. See, Sundus, what is basically happening in this crop rotation? You have crops like some cereal crops you have taken. So they are being grown alternately with the leguminous crops like pulses, beans, etc. in the same field. So, for example, when you grow a when you grow a cereal crop, for example, you're growing maize on the land. So maize takes up all the nitrogen from the soil now. Okay. Forget about the season 1 and the soil which I have written here. Suppose that you grow maize on the soil in the soil. So it takes up utilizes all the nitrogen in the soil. So now soil is deficient of nitrogen. Getting it? Soil is not having any nitrogen in it. Now next, after maize, let's say you grow pea. So pea, the bacteria found to be living in the root nodule of this pea plant will be fixing the nitrogen into the soil. So soil is recharged with nitrogen. Of course, some of the nitrogen this plant will be using for itself, and excess it will be storing into the soil. Excess it will be storing into the soil. So next, in the next season, now you can grow maize again, and now this maize will already be have taking the nitrogen from the soil, which was earlier fixed by the pea plant. So while you were doing farming earlier, you have to provide nitrogen fertilizer to the maize. Now, after you grow it after this pea plant, there's no need to add nitrogenous fertilizers to the soil. Sundus, please do let me know if you're getting it.
Lost one.
Not getting it. See, basically the thing here is that, let me repeat again. Like when we were growing the 1 minute. Let me add a slide here. While you were growing the maize crop, after this you grow pea, and then again you grew maize crop. Which one of them is a leguminous crop? First of all, tell me.
Pea.
Khadija, Sundus. Pea is a leguminous crop. Good. What you know about peas? First of all, talking about maize. So for maize, you have to provide nitrogenous fertilizers to the soil because they don't have any special bacteria which can fix nitrogen from the atmosphere to the soil. So there's a requirement of adding manures and fertilizers. We have to add manures and fertilizers to it. Also, whatever nitrogen you provided to the soil, it will be taken up by this maize. Now, next talking about this pea. So pea, you will find out that rhizobium fixes atmospheric nitrogen, that is N2, into in the soil, right? So what you will find that soil is recharged with nitrogen. So this some amount of it will be taken by the plant, some of it is left by the plant in soil. Now again talking about the maize. So the next time when you are growing the maize, initially first time you had to provide nitrogen to the soil because you haven't grown that before this maize plant, you haven't grown the pea. So initially you had to provide nitrogenous fertilizers to this to the soil in which you are growing the maize crop. Next, you have grown a leguminous crop. So hence rhizobium bacteria enrich the soil with nitrogen. So after this, when you grow the maize for the next time, you guys tell me, is there a need to add any nitrogenous fertilizers or manures to this maize for the next time? Think of it and tell me.
No, there isn't because there's already nitrogen in the soil.
Exactly. How Sundus getting it?
So basically, if a plant have a rhizobium in here, then it will be a leguminous.
Exactly. Okay, no? So that is the whole thing about it. Also, rotation of crop has got different advantages. There are so many advantages of it. How it is done, if someone asks you how it is done, I hope you guys can explain it. So there's a small definition to it. You can say that the practice in which non-leguminous crops are grown alternatively with the leguminous crops, right? And this is the whole process which we have studied. Okay, now let's understand what are the advantages of it. Also, this is actually this diagram here shows you the nitrogen cycle. Okay, now, so I will not discuss this in detail, but just I will be explaining this part of it. This is a leguminous crop, for example, and this nitrogen fixing bacteria are found to be living in the root nodules. Getting it now? So this is the nitrogen that is there in the atmosphere. It is in the N2 form, molecular form of nitrogen. So it is being fixed into the soil by these special ones. Further, it goes into the ammonia, ammonification happens, and then there are nitrification also taking place. So ultimately, what you need to know here that this bacteria fixes atmospheric nitrogen into the soil. Further, sometime later on, we'll be talking about the nitrogen cycle. Okay, now. Also, there are some other ways also via which nitrogen is fixed into the soil. You guys would be surprised to know that if there is a lightning can also break the atmospheric nitrogen and fix it into the soil. Okay, now. So nitrogen gets fixed into the soil via lightning also. Anyways, Now talking about what are the advantages of crop rotation. So the very first advantage is that it improves the fertility of the soil by replenishing it with nitrogen, and hence it will bring about an increase in the production of the food grains. So first thing is increases fertility of soil by replenishing it with nitrogen. Second advantage of it is that rotation of crops saves a lot of nitrogenous fertilizers, because you guys have understood that the leguminous crops grown during the rotation of crop can fix atmospheric nitrogen with the help of their nitrogen fixing bacteria, that is rhizobium, and hence there's no need to add nitrogenous fertilizer to the soil. So crops grown after leguminous crops needs no nitrogenous fertilizer. So that is the advantage of it. Hope it is clear to both of you. If there's any question in it, please let me know, or else we'll be moving further. Now talking about irrigation. You know, all the crop plants needs water for their growth. The crop plants will be absorbing water from the soil.
Second,
And
can you put up last slide?
yes.
Last slide.
Haha.
So you can go ahead.
Okay. So talking about irrigation, you guys know that plant requires water in order to carry out different processes, whether it be the process of photosynthesis. What are the raw materials required by the plants to carry out photosynthesis? Khadija, answer this.
Can you repeat again?
What are the raw materials required by plants to carry out photosynthesis?
Water,
Water and
oxygen, carbon
no,
dioxide.
carbon dioxide is correct, but oxygen isn't
Oh.
correct.
Sunlight.
Sunlight is in itself not a raw material, but it provides the energy for the process of photosynthesis. Okay.
Rhizobium.
Which one?
Rhizobium.
Rhizobium?
Yeah, it helps in the roots, right? Sorry, not rhizobium.
No. Rhizobium has got a completely different function.
Because it is in the root. Sorry.
Haha. No reason to say sorry. So also oxygen along with glucose are the products of photosynthesis. Okay, since we are talking about photosynthesis, can you guys tell me, after photosynthesis glucose is produced, glucose is immediately converted into what? Starch. Very good. It is immediately converted into starch. We were talking about irrigation, so we have understood that there are different roles. There are different reasons why irrigation is necessary. So what is irrigation? Irrigation is basically the process of supplying water to the crop plants. In the field. As simple as that, right? But you know that just as we cannot survive without water for a long time, the same way plants also cannot survive without water for a long time. So if you were to stop watering plants in your home for a considerable period of time, you find out that plants become pale, wilt, and ultimately it might die. So water is absorbed by the roots of the plants. Along with water, the fertilizers that you are providing to the soil, manures, huh? So along with water, minerals and fertilizers are also absorbed by the crop plants. Also, our body almost consists of 70 to 71% of water. In the same manner, if you were to look at the body of the plant contains nearly 90% of water. Getting it? No? Nearly 90% of water. So plant body is 90% of water. There are some very interesting plants whose saps you can actually drink. For example, you can drink the sap of some plants. You have seen that some people, what they would be doing now, they would be making a hole in the bark of the tree, in the stem of the tree. They will insert a pipe into it, and after some time, drop by drop, the sap starts to come out of this tree, and sap of some tree is actually drinkable, and it is found to be found to have cure for so many diseases as well. Anyways, so that actually tells you that water is actually there in plants. Getting it now? Also, you have plants like sugarcane. So there also you get to see lots of water is there in it. Now, understanding why is irrigation necessary? Why it is necessary? Why irrigation is necessary? The most obvious reason why it is necessary we have studied moments ago, in order for the plants to be able to carry out the process of photosynthesis. So the first answer is for photosynthesis. What is the equation of photosynthesis? Can you guys tell me?
Um,
Yes. These are the basics. You guys must have studied these things in class
yes,
6th and
sir.
7th also. Khadija,
Is it
some just
carbon dioxide plus
okay.
water plus sunlight
Chlorophyll
and
Chlorophyll.
gives oxygen and
plus
glucose?
glucose and oxygen.
Very good.
C6H12 and C, I think O2.
C6H12 and
O2?
O6 plus
Yeah.
O2. Okay, good. So that is the chemical equation of the photosynthesis that happens in it. And the energy is supplied by the light. Just like to carry out any process, you require some energy. So hence energy is supplied by this chlorophyll, by this sunlight. Chlorophyll is what? It is the green pigment found in the leaves, right? Also, what about this thing? Like you will find out that leaves of some trees are actually yellow in color. Huh? So are they not able to perform photosynthesis? Yes, on this. And Khadija, we find that some leaves have pink different colors like pink color or yellow color, so they are also able to carry out photosynthesis because chlorophyll is found in them also. But the thing is that they look, for example, yellow in color because they have got a special type of pigment found in them, and that pigment, for example, in the yellow leaves, it is carotene. So it's like this. This is the layer of chlorophyll and it is being shaded by another layer of pigment called as carotene. So chlorophyll is already there, but it is being shaded by a layer of carotene, hence it looks yellow in color. Anyways, coming back to the topic, we discussed the first reason why irrigation is necessary. Another reason why irrigation is necessary, because irrigation before plowing the land will make the soil soft. Huh? Suppose you want to plow the land, you want to loosen the soil. So farmers, what they will do now, first of all, they will sprinkle some water on the ground so that soil becomes soft. Hence, it will be easier to plow the land. Getting it? Irrigation, B/W means before. So irrigation before plowing makes the soil soft. Hence, it becomes easier to loosen the soil. Another reason why irrigation is necessary, that irrigation will be providing moisture for the germination of seeds. Getting it? So for germination it is required. Irrigation is also necessary to maintain the moisture of soil for healthy crop growth. So as we can get the good yield from the crop. Also, we have studied that irrigation is necessary for the absorption of different nutrient elements by the plants from the soil, because it is why the water that different nutrients, different minerals and salts from the soil reaches to the plant. Okay, now can you guys tell me via which structure water is transported in the body of the plant?
Sorry, repeat again.
Mm-hmm. Absorbed
Just
from.
can you repeat?
My question is that via which organ, via which part basically water flows inside the body of the plant? Just like we have got nerves and arteries na, in which blood
And
flows.
what, sir?
The xylem.
Xylem actually, huh?
Sir, I didn't heard the question.
Okay, so in this basically the question was na, like just in our body we have veins and arteries by which blood flows. So in the plant body, my question was that what is the special parts by which water flows inside the body of the plant?
Okay.
So it is xylem, okay, no? And what is via which food flows?
Phloem.
Phloem. So xylem is the tissue via which water plus minerals or salts flows inside the plant, while phloem namely transports food. Also, you see that via the xylem, water, minerals, and salts can flow in only one direction, that in the above direction. While in the phloem, you find
So
out
can I
that.
just come in at 2 minutes?
Okay, okay. While what about phloem, Khadija? Food can transport into any direction in phloem, okay, no? In the upward direction, in the downward, in the sideways as well. So these are some of the advantages of irrigation, why it is necessary. Can you think of some other reasons why irrigation is necessary? Normally in summer season, we drink lots of water. Yeah.
I'm back.
Yes, on this. I'm asking you guys to think of some other reasons why irrigation is necessary. Normally, normally in summer season, we drink lots of water to protect us from the hot air currents. Huh? We make sure that we apply moisturizer over skin. We drink lots of water during the summer season to keep our body cool, to ensure that our body has lots of moisture. Huh? In the same manner, hot air currents like particularly in northern part of India, hot air currents like Loo blows. You guys have heard of Loo or not?
So you
No.
explained.
Huh? Also, Khadija, do tell me how well you are with Urdu. Do you understand Urdu words? Do you speak Urdu?
Yes, I do.
Okay. So winds, hot air winds like Loo blows particularly in northern part of India. So water supply to the crops during irrigation protects the crops from hot air currents. Right now? So water supplied to plants protects it from hot air currents. One example of it is Loo. So hope this is clear. Next, we are going to understand what are the factors that affects the irrigation requirement of a land, of a crop basically. Any confusions or any questions so far? Yes.
So irrigation is basically like you're getting water in any way, right?
Water in any way. See, basically, we can't just provide water to the soil in any way, to the crop in any way. It
So like by
needs
rivers.
how by the
Sorry.
rivers you can provide it, or by canals also. Huh? from water wells also. We will come to that also. We'll discuss about sources of irrigation also. In that we'll be studying that. But before we study about that, I want you guys to understand what are the factors that affects the irrigation requirement of crops. For example, consider crops like rice, huh? Or consider example of wheat. Their water requirement is very different. Paddy requires lots and lots of water, while compared to paddy, that is rice, maize requires less amount of water. Hmm. Then you have to look at the nature of the soil also. Right now, you have understood. You guys must know that there are different types of soils in which crops can be grown. For example, sandy soil is there, clay soil is there. So we will understand that what if you're growing a crop in a sandy soil. So what we know that percolation rate of water in the sandy soil is much more as compared to any other soil, isn't it? You guys know about percolation, no?
Which soil is best at circulation?
No, percolation basically means the rate at which the water flows across the soil particles, through the soil particles. Huh?
Okay.
Yes, Khadija? See, say this is the sandy soil. Well, let's consider you have this clay soil. This is a clay soil. You
Explain
can,
it in the soil chart.
we have studied about it previously also,
Yes,
no?
sir.
Okay, let us quickly revise it. Khadija might not have studied. Have you studied about these things previously, Khadija?
No.
No, okay. See, if you want to grow crops in a sandy soil, so you need to understand about the property of the sandy soil. You find you can easily observe here that water can easily pass through the gaps in the sandy soil. Okay, now lots of gaps are there in between the sand particles. So hence water can easily pass through it. While in clay soil, you find out that gap is very less, so some amount of water can percolate through it. So the crops that are grown in the sandy soil, they need irrigation more frequently. Okay. Whereas the frequency of irrigation in clay soil is lesser as compared to the sandy soil, because they can retain more water, or basically they can hold more water, while sandy soil, they retain less water, so they allow most of the water to pass through them. That's why you need to frequently provide water to them. While clay soil, what we find out that they can retain more water, hence there's no need to provide water to it frequently. So right now we have just understood about the first factor that can affect irrigation requirement of a crop. So we were talking about factors affecting irrigation requirement of crops. The first reason is soil. So so here we have understood that due to the poor water retaining capacity means that how much of water soil can hold. So due to the poor retaining capacity of the sandy soils, the crops cultivated in it requires more frequent irrigation. So you have sandy soil, frequent irrigation. Clay soil, less irrigation. So hope it is clear. If there's any question in it, please do let me know. Any question in it?
No.
Okay. Next thing you need to know it's about the nature of the crop also. Moments ago, we were talking about nature of crops also. So, you know that each crop requires a specific amount of water during the various stages of its growth. You guys should also know that in order to produce just 1 kilogram of rice, several liters of water is required. In order to produce just 1 liter of rice, several liters of water is required. Getting it now? So each crop needs a specific amount of water during the various stages of their growth and ripening, right now. Also, you will find out that some crops requires frequent irrigation during their initial stage of growth. After they are mature and after they are about to ripe, they might not require that much amount of water. So every crop requires a specific amount of water during the various stages of its growth. So some crops will require a good amount of water while it is in its initial stage of growth, right now. While some crops requires it needs more water, whereas some requires less water. For example, as I was giving the example of paddy crops, what you know, it first of all, it is the plant which is first of all grown in a nursery, isn't it? So first thing in it is that as I told you that each crop has a specific water requirement. Next thing is that some crops require more water. Example, you have the rice. So rice is grown first of all in nursery. So in nursery, basically what you find that they are grown first of all in stagnant water. Okay, no? So they are grown in the standing water and continuous irrigation is required at that time. While you have crops like wheat or gram or cotton, they do not require much water. Interestingly, wheat, gram, or cotton are the rabi crops or the kharif crops? Yes. Are they rabi crops or kharif crops? Guys, am I audible in the class or not?
Oh, yes, sir.
Uh,
You
Answer
can
this question.
question.
Wheat, gram, or cotton are they rabi crops or the kharif crops?
Kharif crops, sir.
They are kharif
Kharif.
crops. What are you saying, Sundus?
The what?
They are not kharif crops.
The cotton
Wheat,
is kharif. You said
cotton
yeah.
is kharif crops. You can take cotton here, but what about gram?
Gram is a rabi crop.
It's a rabi crop. So you have some crops like wheat or gram. What you find out that they do not require that much amount of water. So they do not require that much amount of water right now. And for cereal crops like wheat, for cereal crops, let me add one more slide here. You have a cereal crop for cereal crops like a wheat. Water is required at 3 different stages of its growth. Different. Remember the first point I did told you, like each crop has a specific water requirement at the various stages of its growth and maturing, of its growth and ripening. So you have crops like wheat where water is required at 3 different stages. First, at the time of flowering. At the time of flowering. Next, it is required at the time of the no, first of all, no, you will count before plowing the land. Okay, no, before plowing the land. Before plowing the land. Second, it is required at the time of flowering. Okay, no. And the third, it is required at the time of development of the grain. Time of development of grain. Getting it now? So you have some cereal crops like wheat, which requires water at 3 different stages of its growth. First, before the plowing is done. Second, at the time of flowering, and the third, at the time of development of the grains. Getting it now? So this was another factor that affects the irrigation requirement of a crop. The third factor that will affect the requirement of a irrigation requirement, it is season also, right now. So you have seen that frequency of irrigation of crops also varies from season to season. For example, usually those crops that are grown in the summer season, frequency of irrigation is much higher, because during the hot days of the summer, the rate of evaporation from water, the rate of evaporation from the soil and from the leaves of the crop plants is usually high, isn't it, Sandus and Khadija? So in summer season, what we find that transpiration is very high. It is evaporation of water from leaves and from soil. So hence irrigation requirement is more. Irrigation requirement is more. I hope you guys are understanding this basic concept. While in winter, due to less heat, you find that transpiration, that is loss of water, is less. Hence, irrigation requirement is less. So I hope it is clear to both of you. Any questions in it, please do let me know.
I didn't get it.
Not getting it.
The third point.
Third point. Okay. See, basically, transpiration, you guys know what is transpiration? Have you guys studied about transpiration?
Sir.
What is transpiration? Define it.
Yeah. Transpiration is the process in which
In which?
In which the plants are getting sorry, that is condensation.
Can I say?
Yeah, Khadija.
Transpiration is the evaporation of water from a plant's leaves.
From the leaves of the plants, correct. And to be specific, from the stomatal pores in the leaves, right now. So that is what transpiration is. So more the temperature, more will be the rate of evaporation of water from the stomatal pores of the leaves and stems as well. The stems of only the green stems. Okay. So in summer season, due to high temperature, transpiration increases. More water is evaporating. Right now, from the leaves, not from the soils. We see that due to heat, water evaporates from the soil also. But in transpiration, we don't talk about soil, only about the leaves and stems. So hence more water is lost by the plants. Hence you need to provide more water to the plants. That is, irrigation requirement is more. While that is opposite in the winter season, because less heat is there, hence rate of evaporation of water from the leaves is lesser. That is, transpiration is lesser. Hence requirement is also lesser. Irrigation requirement is lesser. I hope you guys are getting it. Is it clear, Sandos? Yeah. Sandos, are you there? Guys, in the next class, we'll be understanding about the different sources of irrigation. What are the traditional sources of irrigation? Like this, you can see in this image, this farm is basically taking out water from the well and manually supplying it to the crops. Then you have this somewhat mechanized system, but this is also a traditional method. Okay, now, so this thing we'll be studying about it. Then this thing you might have seen, but it is no longer. Usually very small farmers having a small land, they will be relying on practices like this.
In Africa, it is there.
Yes.
In Africa.
In Africa, in Somalia, in that part of the world, you can see farmers would be relying upon traditional methods of irrigation. Then you have this Rahat system. Okay, now this is in fact very interesting system. Okay, now so these were the traditional methods of supplying water to the crop fields. But nowadays we have switched to the modern methods like these. You can find out. So these things we'll be discussing in the next class. There are some other topics left. So we still need at least two
So
more
like
classes.
drip irrigation, so that is used in very big lands, or no, it is not used in big lands.
Drip
Drip
irrigation.
irrigation, yes.
Drip irrigation or sprinkler irrigation, it depends upon lots of factors. The type of crops you have, the type of soil you have, right? If the water availability is less, you will be relying upon drip irrigation. Or if you want to do farming in different parts of the world, like in where water availability is less, like in Saudi Arabia, if you want to do this, or in parts of India, like in Rajasthan, if you want to do this, getting it. So there we will be preferring this type of method. Particularly for vegetables and fruits, we use this method. Okay, no? So we'll be covering all these things in the next class. We still require 2 more classes to complete this chapter. So removal of weeds is also there to be discussed. And then finally about harvesting. Once you harvest the crops, and how you are going to store them. What are the different methods of harvesting? How do you separate the seed from its seed pods? So few things are left. We'll be covering that in the next class. If there's any question, please do let me know.
Mm.
Okay then. Allah Hafiz.
Thank you, sir. Bye.
Yeah. You're welcome.